Welcome to Overcome Divorce, Fear, and Paralysis workshop. Andrea and I have been talking about doing this for quite some time. We so often meet people in the early stages who are just really understandably in a lot of fear. And so today we're really hoping to help you understand what's going on, to normalize it, to give you some tips and suggestions to minimize it. And so we're gonna kick off. And what I'm gonna ask is there's two questions. So we were asking where you were from. Thank you for those who jumped in and shared. The other thing is what stage you're in. And so I'm just it'll help us formulate how we speak to you. So you may still be on the should I mend or should I end fence, and a decision hasn't yet been made. Or you may just be starting. Either you or your spouse made the decision and you're kind of stepping into it, or you're about to step into it, or you're in the early stages. And so those are kind of the span of people I think that are here. If you're comfortable, let us know where you're from. Let us know what stage of divorce you're in, and then we'll kick off. And so we have someone from Los Angeles who's had a failed mediation and now working on collaboration. We have somebody else who filed but has not yet served the papers. Those early stages are really prickly. That's a lot of what we're going to be talking about today. Anyone else want to jump in and share? We've got people continuing to come in. For those of you who just dropped in, we are just introducing by dropping in the chat where you're from and what stage of divorce you're in. We've got someone else saying they're working out the settlement. Congratulations, wishing you a smooth and swift agreement there. That's always what we hope for. Okay. Okay, so I'm just going to say this one more time, that we're doing a couple of exercises too. So the more you engage with the chat, the more you'll get out of it, and we're going to be asking questions. And you can probably see we've got two additional panelists. That's our team in the background. If you have any struggles, challenges, if all of a sudden you can't hear, Naomi and Connor are in the background ready to help. So you can drop something in the chat and they'll address it right away with you. I want to say one other thing, and we have a Q&A. So there are two different places. If you look on the bottom menu, you'll see both the Q&A and the chat. So those are the two ways you guys can communicate with us. So shall we kick it off?
Yes, we shall. Let's do it.
Beautiful.
All right. Well, welcome everyone. We're so happy you're here. Like Karen said, we've been thinking about this workshop for a long time, and we're really hoping that you'll get a lot out of this hour with us today, that we'll be sharing everything with you. So I'm Andrea Vacca. I am the owner of the Vacca Family Law Group. We are a non-adversarial family law firm in New York. That means we don't litigate. We help people mediate, collaborate, negotiate. We keep them out of court because we want to help them find creative solutions, have the most peaceful divorce possible, and help them end their marriages without destroying their families. And I'm here with Karen McMahon.
Hello, everyone. Karen McMahon. I am the founder of Journey Beyond Divorce. Our company was launched 15 years ago. I have a team of coaches from coast to coast. We support men and women across the English-speaking world to get calm, clear, and confident, whether you're in the beginning, the early stages, the middle, or post-divorce. And I'm also the host of the Journey Beyond Divorce podcast. And we specialize in those really difficult, prickly, contentious divorces. We really love supporting people to navigate that and feel free and excited about the next stage of your life. And so we're hoping that today helps to kick that off for you. Moving right along. Great. Okay, just to set the stage here, we have a couple of goals for today. The first one is to help you gain clarity and confidence in making the right next steps. So that's the first one. Clarity and confidence is what you're shooting for. And then the second thing is to really understand the emotional and legal challenges that are keeping you stuck. And we know you're stuck because everyone's stuck in these early stages. And so we're going to really shine a light on why is that and what can you do about it. And then third, we've got 2 exercises. So we're providing these exercises to help you to shift. And so during this 1 hour, that's part of what we're going to be doing. And so whether you're unsure whether to move forward with divorce or not, this is going to help you identify what's holding you back. A lot of people say I'm uncertain. Uncertainty is often fear and not uncertainty. We'll talk a little bit about that. And if you've decided, but then you immediately got paralyzed, you decided and then you went into freeze mode, that makes sense too. And so this will help you to gain some clarity and determine baby steps that you can take so that you can really start building momentum. And then finally, if you're certain, but you're filled with anxiety, totally understandable. You're in the right place. And this is going to help you have some tools for, again, baby steps to continue to move forward and stay in momentum. Andrea?
So just a few housekeeping notes before we get into the real substance of the workshop. If you want to keep your questions private, please put them in the Q&A, and then Karen and I and our team will be the only ones seeing that. Our cameras and mics are off for everybody else here. And as Karen said, we have these interactive exercises, so hopefully you can participate. And if we don't get to your questions, we'll be happy to follow up with you afterwards. You can reach out to us, but we'll try to get to the questions as we go along, and definitely at the end. So depending on how many we get, we look forward to getting to all of them if we can. Stay tuned for the end of our workshop today. We'll have a special offer about our empowered exit plan package, and then you'll want to keep an eye out also for a follow-up email with a recording of this workshop and a copy of our complimentary pre-divorce checklist, which we'll be telling you more about later. So I think we can get started moving into the workshop.
Okay, so why is divorce so emotionally challenging? Divorce is so much the emotions. Everyone thinks I'm getting divorced. I've got the legal, I've got the financial, but there is such a vat of different emotions that can have you leaving your prefrontal cortex and ending up back in your amygdala, in your fight, flight, or freeze brain. And so I'm just going to run through a few of them, and I have a tip for you. So one is confusion. So many people and myself included on that fence, should I stay, should I go, feel like they're so confused. And it's because you're thinking about this entire different future. And so it becomes a little bit of an emotional fog. Fear is another emotion. I think I've yet to meet someone who didn't experience some fear going through their divorce. And so in the early stages, there's so much that's unknown, especially if you don't know your legal rights yet and you're listening to your spouse who's telling you what's going to happen, even though they don't know either. And so what's going to happen to me? What's my future going to look like? I can't stretch my neck and look around the corner. I can't see. And so as humans, uncertainty is really uncomfortable for us. And we fill in the blanks with nightmares almost always. And so, oh my God, my kids. Am I screwing up my kids? Am I going to be able to protect my kids while they're at their other parents' house? And am I going to have enough money to live? Is there enough to go around? Am I going to be able to have a home? All of those. And then there's guilt and shame. Am I being selfish? Am I hurting everyone and just doing this for me? What's wrong with me? Or oh my God, why did I stay so long? Why did I make this so bad? And so guilt or I'm bad, shame often comes up for some people. Anger. I'm so pissed off at them. Why couldn't they change? Or why do I have to go through this? Why do I have to do all the heavy lifting? I'm not even the one who wants this. Or 100 other things. Why can't my attorney answer my calls? Or why is the court the way they are? So much anger. Uncertainty, I have no idea what to expect. And all of these things are wrapped in grief. And grief is, this is the end. And every ending involves grief. And you may think, I want this, I'm crystal clear. Why do I feel this way? That's what happened to me. Why am I so sad? Why am I so angry? Why am I second guessing myself? Grief shows up differently for each of us, and it's big and it's overwhelming. And so just imagine that this is all an emotional fog that you're dealing with amidst all of the details of this brand new world that you need to figure out. And it's normal. Everyone's there. Having any of these emotions is not a red flag that you're making the wrong decision. It's actually a sign that you're human and you have a pulse, because we all go through it. And so today, our desire is to help you tap into what are the emotions that are keeping you stuck, and how can you begin to work with them. And I'll tell you, I spoke to an expert who said, every emotion is valuable. It does two things. It informs you what's going on, like fear. Okay, there's something to be afraid of, and it guides you. And so I really want you, as we go through the exercises, to think, what are my emotions? What is each one informing me of? And what is it guiding me to do? And over to you.
Yeah, thanks, Karen. Um, the our humanity leads to these emotions. So again, just normalizing that for everyone. I just want everyone to understand that. And I appreciate that Karen pointed that out. And then there's that legal and emotional intersection that, if you have unmanaged emotions or unrecognized emotions, they are going to lead to poor legal decisions and poor financial decisions. And that can mean either making no decisions by freezing and not doing anything, or making the wrong decisions and taking actions that are not in your best interest, because your emotions are driving those choices. So you end up reacting to situations and behaviors rather than planning for the divorce that you want. And that's what we want to help you do, help you plan for the divorce that you want. And that's what this empowered exit plan is all about. We want you to gain clarity on your goals so that you can make the right choices and decide what divorce process is best for you. Ask the right questions of your attorney, your coach, your therapist, whoever is advising you. And just understand that there are many ways to divorce. We're seeing here that some people are filing for divorce. Some people are looking at mediation first. It's not turning out to be the right process. Now they're looking at collaborative. Trying to understand up front what process is right for you will save a lot of time and money and emotions. So we're going to be talking with you about that today as well. But what we've seen, I've been practicing law for more than 30 years. Karen's been a divorce coach for 15 now, I think.
Yep.
Yes. Okay. We've been helping clients end their marriages in a way that they would have more understanding about their fears and goals. And because they understand where they're feeling, what their emotions are, then they have a more empowered divorce so that they can stay out of court, so they can find creative solutions and set themselves up for a happier future. So that's why the work we're going to be doing today is so important, especially at the beginning of this journey, or if you're in the middle of it too, because maybe you're stuck in a cycle, and this will help you realize what's been going on.
100%. And information is power. So we want to empower you. And so we're going to go to the first exercise. Take out your pen and paper, or if you're going to be typing on your computer. This is about the fears. And what I want to encourage you to do is first write down all your fears. Don't even think, I know it says top 5. Write them all down. And so take a few minutes. Write down all your fears. I'm going to give you a couple of suggestions. There's a couple of ideas on the screen of what they may be. And you may have 20. And then you can prioritize, what are my top 5? So while I'm speaking, you can do this exercise. So one is, I'm afraid my kids will suffer. I think that is so universal. The fear that I'm making a decision that I know is good for me, I kind of know is good for them, but God, this is such a hard process. It makes sense that they might suffer. And Andrea, you want to take the next one?
Yeah. So will I be okay financially? Where am I going to live? How am I going to do this? I've been out of the workforce, or I don't feel secure in my job. How will we do this financially? It's hard enough living in one home. How will we afford two? What if I regret this? What if this is not the right decision? What if I should have tried harder? All these what ifs are so common, and these fears are so common among so many of you.
Another one is I'm afraid of how my spouse will react. Will they become vindictive? Will they make this divorce harder and longer and more expensive? And what can I do? Because I'm afraid. What do I do? Or that longer term fear. I've been married for decades. I don't know how to live alone. I don't want to live alone. I'm going to be alone for the rest of my life. That's such a big fear for so many people, regardless of their age. And when this is so important to do, because when you name your fear, you immediately begin to gain control over it. And the next thing that happens is you start looking at it and kind of poking at it a little bit. How true is that? I always like to use the one, I was so afraid I was going to be like homeless and in the streets. And it's like, well, maybe not. I might have to go move in with my mom. Don't want to do that, but I don't have to be homeless in the streets. And so that's really what we want you to do, is start like looking at what your top 5 are, and then noticing that fear is like a circus mirror. It takes the worst case scenario, the greatest nightmare, squares it, and that's what you ruminate about. But how true is it that that would ever be would ever happen, as opposed to maybe something on the fear spectrum, but much lower. And once you identify, you can begin to address these fears. And that's a lot of what we do on the legal front. Andrea does it on the emotional front. That's a lot of what I talk to my clients about.
People.
And we want to invite you now to just drop them. Anything you have, drop them into the chat. We'd love to verbally share them. We won't mention your name, but it'll help you see that you're so not alone.
Yeah, these top 5 will probably be on lots of lists, but I'm sure there's others or more specific, fears that you have. We'd love to hear what those are or see what those are.
Yeah. Do you want to read those off, Andrea?
Yeah, so we're seeing, well, someone said these top 5 are their top 5.
Yeah.
Someone else is saying financial instability, having to move in with their mother-in-law, having to leave your town because of finances, maybe not being able to afford living where you're living right now.
100%.
Some other fears are having conflict with your spouse, being manipulated, being retaliated against, how will the kids be turned against you? Will they believe the lies, that your ex may say to them? And we call that alienation, parental alienation.
Yeah.
With some co-parents, that might be a real fear, or maybe it's not. So let's really dig into that. But thank you for sharing those fears with us.
Yeah, absolutely.
Let's see. Oh, someone saying they're afraid they'll be disowned by the whole family and they'll have nowhere to go. So yeah, the fear of the unknown, what will happen?
And how is everyone else going to react? And so I mentioned grief earlier, but it's not just your grief, right? It's your spouse, it's your kids, it's your in-laws, it's your parents, it's your sister who likes your spouse. And it's everybody has an opinion, everybody has an emotional reaction, and all of this plays into it. And so know that as we're reading them out, another one just said, regret the decision in the future. Is it the right decision? Is it best for the kids? You're in good company. Whatever you're fearing, whatever you're thinking, these are universal. And these are things that Andrea and I deal with every day and help people really get clear on what's real in all of this and how do we minimize that fear, bring down the emotional fog so that you're thinking. And that's what the next exercise is meant to do. You want to move on, Andrea?
Yeah, let's move on to the next exercise. So keep those fears. We'll be coming back to them. We'll be, talking about them and trying to move, past them. But we're going to go to this next exercise now where we want to, there's so much power in knowing how you want to navigate your divorce. How you divorce matters to your long-term well-being. So the process that you choose, the emotions that you bring to it, the behaviors you bring to it. So what we'd like to do now is write down, I'd like you to write down how you want to navigate your divorce. And these are some prompts that you might find helpful. that you want to make decisions that are best for you and perhaps your children in the long term. You want to be a strong advocate for your kids. Maybe something's coming up around, that you're, instead of being afraid of what's going to happen financially, how can you rephrase that and say, I want to navigate my divorce by knowing I'm going to have a new and positive financial plan, or I want to reconnect with things that are important to me, passions that I had or once had. How I want to set co-healthy co-parenting boundaries. Maybe things haven't been going very well at home, but in my divorce, I want to start over in that respect. How can we co-parent from two homes in a different way? So what's coming up for you as you think about how you, not what somebody else might be doing, but what control you might have over your emotions, over your behavior, over your intentions in the process. That's what we'd like you to be writing down right now.
Yeah, and I just want to kind of put a dot on that. So often people will say, I want my soon-to-be ex to behave differently. You have no agency there. And so one of the things in this exercise is really think about your agency. How am I behaving that I would like to change? Are there things that I don't communicate that I wish I did? So when you do that, when you start thinking about goals based on what you do have control over, you immediately start feeling empowered.
Yeah.
And
so envision yourself navigating the divorce with more confidence. What does that look like? Or more empowerment? How do you want to feel emotionally? How do you want to be financially? How do you want to engage socially during this process? A big one. How do you want your children to experience your divorce? How, if it were in your control, what would that look like? And half of it is how they, it is half in your control. So what can you do? What would you like them to experience? That we're not talking negatively in front of them, that private conversations are happening when they're out of the house, that whatever it may be with regard to children, if you have children, and it could be young children or adult children, please keep that in mind. You might have grandchildren together. How do you want all of your family to experience your divorce? How might you want to be a co-parent? I mentioned that earlier. And then also, what are new opportunities perhaps for you? Maybe you've been out of the workforce. This is a time to really look again, like the kind of what kind of career you want. How could you be happier in your life? What kind of activities would bring you happiness? So take just another maybe 30 seconds, write down how you want to be. And if you can start dropping that in the Q&A or the chat and let us know what's coming up for you.
And we'll share so that you'll see once again that you're in good company. Yeah. And I know so many of my clients have commented on how they're parenting, that they're so much more present, knowing that there'll be less time because the kids are split, knowing that they're hyper vigilant about making sure that the children aren't harmed. And so they end up being more present, more engaged, and having stronger ties with their children. And so for you, what are those goals? Let's shout them out and share a few. We have one here. I want to be able to create a better financial plan and maintain control of my emotions and reactions. Well, that's a rock star response. I mean, and I want you to think that whatever you're stating as a goal, you're setting that intention. You're going to manifest that if you truly believe in it. And so that was such a wonderful response. Fear to start my own medical online practice. I've added so many new training skills, but every time I want to launch it, I get scared. And so I would love for you to reframe that, the person who wrote that. Write your goal in the positive, not what you're afraid of. Go ahead and write it again, because I want to read it for everybody. And then we have another one. New financial plan, maintain healthy emotions, reconnect with passions. I mean, so many of us put our hobbies and interests on the back shelf to spend more time with our spouse, or if we have family, children. this is an amazing time to dust those off, bring them out. What is it that you used to love doing that you just didn't have enough time to do that you can now re-engage with? And boundaries,
Boundaries.
boundaries and more boundaries. We love that one. Learning boundaries, getting skilled at boundaries, which is a very graceful way of taking care of yourself without being snarky or hurtful toward anyone else. So boundaries is vital. Thank you for bringing that one up. And I want to feel confident to manage the patients I want to manage and to let go of that fear. Okay, that's the rewrite. Wait a second. I have to do this. Give me a second. This is what one of our members just went from fear to start my own online medical practice. I keep getting scared. I have all this stuff, but I keep getting scared. And then she wrote, feel confident to manage the patients, manage and let go of the fear. Beautiful, beautiful.
Yeah. Not have to take clients or do work out of fear, but out of what you want, how you want your life to be, how you want to help other people. That's so empowering. That's so powerful.
And then we've got create a plan to go back to school for a master's degree. Absolutely. That's awesome. And I want you to feel the energy. Like it's like there is a scary journey ahead, but on the other side of that can be the very best chapter of your life. And these kinds of comments show possibility. Find happiness when not together with my spouse. Stop bad mouthing. Well, that would be them stopping bad mouthing you, kids control, reconnect with adult kids, reconnect with past enjoyments. Beautiful. Let go of fear of being alone.
This is so wonderful. Thank you everyone for sharing these goals that you all have and how you want to be in your divorce. We hope you're starting to feel the different kind of energy shift from fear to desire. That's
Beautiful.
what we're doing here.
And I want to read this one other one that's so beautiful. A more peaceful home environment. That was my number one priority. New financial plan for my special needs daughter, more skilled boundaries, pursue passions in animal rescue. Woo, woo. This is beautiful. Thank you. Thank you for participating. And I hope you can feel the energy and the possibility simply in this little piece.
Yeah. Wonderful. Okay, so I guess we should move on. Okay, so we're going to talk about connecting your goals and fears with some solutions that we have. So Karen, you want to start us off here?
Yeah. So you want to make your decisions based on the long term, and it's really easy to, Andrea mentioned it earlier, to be reactive. So you're either going to be responsive or reactive. Reactive is knee-jerk, completely bypass your brain and just say or do. That's not going to be very valuable. That would be short-term emotional decision making. And so, as we've been talking about, divorce is a brilliant way of triggering emotions, right? It just does. And so fear, guilt, anger, everything we talked about. And as I mentioned, it's the raising of the emotional fog. The more emotions that I'm drowning in, the less I can think clearly and make decisions. And so we want you to focus on what serves you. And you really want to be thinking 6 months, a year, 5 years, 10 years, long term. If you've got little kids, you need to be thinking about college. If you're doing a silver divorce, you really want to be thinking about retirement and what you need financially. And so everything you do or say, and I want you to hear this. So stop what you're doing and truly listen to this. Every single thing you say or do is either going to bring you closer to your desired goals or bring you further away. When you act out of reaction, short-term triggered reaction, you move further away from the very thing that you want. When you take a pause and you breathe and you think it through, you can move toward these beautiful goals that you just mentioned. You want to jump in, Andrew?
Yeah, so that is so, you can be pushed towards your goals or pulled towards your goals, but if you can, I love that you ask people to really listen to that, because focusing on where you want to get to is really how you're going to keep going in that direction. So focusing on there are some legal goals too, right? So intentional goals can be emotional, taking care of yourself, feeling empowered, communicating better. And then there are some legal goals too. So, exploring those out of court methods to resolve whatever legal issues you're dealing with. Everyone has there's many common issues, but everyone's family is unique. And we have to understand what your issues are, what your dynamic is, and then we can help you find the right process that will help you meet your goals. And the goal, if the goal is to have the most amicable and cost-effective way to end the marriage, that's what we're going to try. That's what you should, if you could, focus on. And then, do you want to talk about financial?
Yeah, and I'll say so. I'll jump in on the financial, but one of the things that I think is important is divorce is a lot of decisions over a long period of time. And it's easy to get caught up. And I'll give you a perfect example. Most people that I talk to who have barely begun are ruminating about whether or not they can keep the marital home. Until you actually sit and fill out your financial affidavit and put all of your discovery together and see what the numbers look like, that is a decision that you can't even begin to make, not in an educated way, not in an informed way. And so for you, like, setting intentional goals is also, what do I need to do now? And if I'm worrying about something I have to decide on 3 months or 6 months from now, I'm wasting the emotional energy, which is going to be wrapped around that decision, when there are things front and center that I have to take care of. And so Andrea just talked about some of the legal ones. All of this is just wrapped in emotion. And then financial, creating a sustainable post-divorce budget. Money might be, I've had clients where it's like, I would rather stick my head in the sand than deal with finances. That will never serve you well. Creating a budget, looking at numbers, hiring a financial person who swims in the waters of numbers, who can help you understand the difference between different retirement accounts or the value of your home versus the value of your investments and all of that. Those are, when you partner up and say, what do I need to know first? Then you're taking baby steps. And I want you to hear that, baby steps, not huge launches, baby steps. And when you're committed to taking one baby step after another, you gain traction and you stay in momentum and you help your divorce continue to move forward, which is what I think we all want to see have happen. And you create, with the finances, even if you're afraid of your future, you create a more stable financial future simply by staying on top of these pieces in the financial puzzle and moving forward.
Yeah. Looking for other people who can help you. You don't have to do this all alone. Yes, there's a lawyer, and Karen is a coach. There are financial professionals who are divorce financial analysts. You don't need to get bogged down in I've never done this before, or I don't know how to do it, or it's too overwhelming. There are people who can help, and asking the right questions will get you the help that you need. So you can start taking those little steps. You don't have to jump all the way ahead right now. Just get on that path forward.
Beautiful. So shall we dive into, we're going to dive it a little bit deeper into some of the most common fears and offer some shifts in perspective. And so here are the common fears that we've been highlighting. Let's jump into the first one.
Yeah. So, and we'll talk about some solutions, how to address them, how to move forward in spite of these fears. Exactly. So fear of the unknown. I don't know how to begin, when to begin, where to begin. So an empowered plan, an exit plan with the advice from a non-adversarial divorce attorney and a divorce coach is a very, very important way to begin, because you're going to be looking at different options for how to divorce. You're going to be looking deeper at your emotions that might have been stopping you before, and just help you get out of your own way. an exit plan will help you have a roadmap that's geared for you. It breaks down your situation, breaks down your specific issues that are coming up in your marriage and in your relationship, and give you some clarity for how to deal with conflict that has been in your marriage, how to avoid it in the divorce or minimize it in the divorce if you're moving forward in that way, and help you prepare for conversations with your spouse, because you don't know how to have that conversation right now. You haven't done it yet, many of you, or you haven't done it very well because you're still not moving forward. Let us help you. Let somebody like Karen or me help you approach that conversation with the right mindset, with a clear mindset. So you'll know how to begin and when to say it and how to say it. And all of this will give you guidance to determine what process is going to be right for you, and how to propose a process to your spouse if they're not on board yet. So,
and I would say that part of that is oftentimes if your spouse's voice is louder in your head than your own voice, it's almost like two against one, right? Because they're arguing with you, you're arguing their point in your head to you. And so one of the things we do as coaches is we help you to get clear on what's going on between my ears, and am I undercutting myself right from the beginning? And so a perfect example is you haven't spoken to an attorney. You don't have that legal guidance of what does this look like? What are my options? And the beginning of what are my rights? You don't have that. But what you have in your head is your spouse who said, you know what, you're going to walk away without any money, and you're not going to see the kids, or I'm going to do this and you're not going to get that. And then that just tamps up your fear, but it's uninformed and it's not true. And so the antidote to not knowing where to begin is to get the support from people who understand the process so that you can get really clear on what's true, what's not true, and what your unique and ideal path is to move forward.
right.
Let's move to the next one.
Hey, fear about
Everybody.
money. It's a huge fear we saw today. It comes up in many different ways. And so a divorce attorney will help you get clear on what is going to be divided in your marriage: marital property, what's separate property, community property, if you live in a community property state, what needs to be considered in your divorce. So what is there to divide? What are the values of those assets? We're going to help you start getting clear. We'll help you start thinking about what you might need for support. How will you support two homes? These are just preliminary conversations, but that you can get a little bit more stable ground under you in thinking about finances. Then there are emotional issues around money too. So Karen, why don't you talk about that?
Yeah, so we all have our money perspective. I was raised with a real scarcity perspective. And so when my divorce hit, that was utterly inflamed. And so what is your perspective? Are you someone who overspends when you get anxious and then you feel guilt and regret? Are you someone who's really scared to spend like I was? What we do is we help you manage your money fears by first getting under the covers. Where are these fears coming from? Maybe they're what your spouse said, maybe they're what you were raised with. And so when we start getting crystal clear on what are my perspectives, are they my beliefs, or are they my parents' beliefs? Can I let them go? Or are they my spouse's beliefs? And then you get clear on your values, your beliefs, and then you may still be tight. I was very financially tight, but again, it's minimizing the fear because you're getting really clear on what's real. And then you can start making decisions based on what's real. And just being in action is going to bring down the stress, and it's going to raise your confidence. Every time you can make a decision, a clear-headed, discerning decision, you're going to feel more confident. And the more support you have, coach, attorney, financial person, shoring you up, the better off that you're going to be.
Okay, another very common fear
Okay.
is
I'm
what
afraid my
will happen.
kids will suffer, right?
Yeah, afraid your kids are going to suffer.
And so there's actually a TED Talk out there that talks about what's worse, divorce or conflict, and they've done some research. And so it's a really interesting thing to look at. But children struggle and suffer more in a household filled with conflict than they do in two separate households where it's more peaceful. And so we just have this belief, right? It's just out there. Of course, everybody knows children suffer through divorce. Not so much. You can do so much to change that. And so, as a coach, or if you're working with a therapist, you can navigate the parenting challenges and the children challenges, because again, they're all grieving. Who's shutting down, who's getting angry, who's siding with dad, who's siding with mom. And so your children are going to go through divorce. It's a transition. Like every transition, there's going to be grief, there's going to be struggle, and then there's the promise of tomorrow. Here we are in the spring, and we're starting to see the promise of spring. Trust me, every divorce has a promise of spring. And so rather than ruminate about what might be wrong with the kids, are you being present? Do you have good communication? Are there some boundaries and agreements and comfort within the household or with you and your co-parent so that those children are protected from any contention that the two of you are dealing with? And then there are other professionals. You want to jump in about those, Andrea?
Yeah, well, first, as an attorney, one of the major things that we're helping our clients with is thinking about a co-parenting agreement that will reduce conflict in right now, maybe while you're still living together, how to get support for your children right now and during this transitional time, and what a long-term parenting agreement might be best for the children, considering who you and their co-parent are and where you're living and all the other details of your post-divorce life. But I find that it helps a lot of clients when we've started talking about how to co-parent while you're still living together. You can start getting time alone with the children. There's different things you can do so that the kids are getting a little more used to being with one parent over another. It depends on your family, but there are ways that we can kind of start dipping our toes into how are the kids doing? What can we do to help the kids? How do we start co-parenting together? There are also other child professionals and therapists and parenting coordinators who can help make sure this parenting plan you're thinking about right now and in the future, in the long-term future, is best for your children given their ages. A parenting agreement for a 3-year-old is going to be very different than a 13-year-old or an 18-year-old. So we're going to help you look at all the different stages of your children. And there are, again, experts who cost less than lawyers. All the experts we've been talking about are less than what we charge. So we want to bring in more experts. We want to bring in more professionals to help keep your costs down and get you the expertise that you need. Anything else you want to say about that, Karen?
Yeah, no, I think you did a great job of covering it. I think that, the temporary shared parenting, which is what Andrea was referring to, I so highly recommend, whether you're the primary parent and you have to start detaching a little bit from all of that time with the kids, or you're the primary earner. And maybe you've been told you can't parent because you don't, and you're starting to dip your toe in. And then, like Andrea said, the kids getting used to time with parent A, time with parent B. This is so valuable. And I like to say everything is good information. So if it blows up and somebody doesn't do what they are fighting to get, like I'm fighting for 50-50, but I'm not showing up for my time, that's really good information. You get to bring that to your negotiation. And so doing temporary shared parenting early on, in my opinion, is always good for everybody involved.
Yeah. Okay, well, another big fear is just fear of conflict. Fear of conflict during the divorce process, that it's so great that you end up in court, that you can't resolve it out of court. So a solution for that is, as I mentioned earlier, how you divorce and how you matters, but how you start your divorce really matters. So what's the right approach for you? Mediation, where you and your spouse are alone in the room with a mediator, where you have to really advocate for yourself? Or would it be better to have a collaborative, more supportive environment with a team around you? Would that be more productive for you? would just a traditional negotiation work better? Or do you need a court, a judge telling you what to do and to get your spouse to do what they need to do? I always think court's the last resort, and even the worst case scenario is probably not going to happen. So we always encourage you to find a different type of process first, and talking to the attorney will help you figure out what process you should start at. Sometimes mediation is great. Sometimes it's not the best place to start. And I would be able to tell you that by finding out more about, who you are. And then there's someone like Karen, a high conflict divorce strategist, will help you communicate more effectively to reduce the tension, to bring down the conflict, to not get triggered by what your spouse is saying or not saying, and to not trigger them. And then we can help you build this team that protects your emotional well-being, your mental well-being, your financial well-being, and gives you more peace that you're doing this in the right way. So you're not creating and adding to the conflict because your fears are minimized.
100%. And so much, there are 3 key skills that we always support our clients to develop in this early stage. One is emotional regulation, right? So all of that fear, making decisions out of your amygdala brain is not where you want to be. And so when you emotionally regulate, you can access your thinking brain and make better decisions. Setting boundaries, most people are, we weren't raised with them, we're not skilled at them. And then communication. It's amazing how some tweaks in communication and communicating strategies can really minimize. And so learning these basic skills aren't just going to help you through your divorce. These are skills that are going to help you raise your kids through all those difficult stages. It's going to help you with every aspect of your life. And so I really encourage you to think about entering divorce as almost like entering this self-growth program where you're going to come toe to toe with the best and worst of you, and you have the opportunity to grow and stretch and develop in new ways that will serve you, your family, and your future in a beautiful, beautiful way. And we are seeing the questions coming in, so you can keep dropping them. We're putting a list of questions together. We're going to be wrapping up in a few minutes, and we'll get to those questions. So just stay tuned for that. Okay, so fear of loneliness and loss of identity. This one is huge. And really, if there are any of you on the line who are literally 3-4 decades into a marriage, it is such a huge shift to go from being married, if you have kids, married and the family, and that being your whole life. And so who am I? Who am I if I'm not a mom taking care of kids? Who am I if I'm not a dad with a household and, and supporting them and raising them? And so those fears make sense, and that loss of identity, and that I don't want to start over. Are you kidding me? I just started dating recently. It's very interesting to be dating after not dating for many, many years or decades, and it's uncomfortable. These things are uncomfortable. And yet, notice your fear. We help you to reconnect with yourself, to rebuild confidence, and to really get excited about those things rather than resisting them. It's a reframe. It's a fresh start, and we reframe rather than an ending. You have this next amazing chapter ahead of you. And Andrea, you guys do something on this front, on the legal front.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, we really do. I mean, we do, clients are coming to us not wanting to be in the situation, even if they want the divorce, if it's they're initiating it. They don't want this. No one wants to be getting divorced. No one plans for this. And it reminds me of I just ran into a client. I just saw a client recently, and it's been about a year since she started her divorce and didn't want to have to say she wanted a divorce, and she was so sad for so long and so trying to fight against it and not wanting to do this. But we finally have an agreement, and I just saw her recently on Zoom, and she looked amazing. She looked so different. I said, "You look like this weight is lifted off her shoulders." They have a parenting agreement. They have a financial agreement. They've moved on. They're not living together. and she said she started dating recently and she just looked like a completely different person. And it made me really happy that as hard as this has been for her, she's now, I can see she's on the other side. And so that's what we hope for everybody that makes this decision or has to go through this.
And I just want to kind of share a little gift. You have to do some searching to find it, but on the Journey Beyond Divorce podcast, we have a series that's called Voices of Celebration. We have like 40 episodes now. These are men and women who've gotten some coaching through their divorce, who, like Andrea just said, were utterly resistant. This sucks. This is the worst thing in my life. I don't want to go through this. And then I chat with them on the other end after a bunch of coaching and getting through the process and being on the other side. Every single story isn't about celebrating the divorce. No, not at all. Celebrating the human being that they've become, the relationship they now have with their children, the possibility of their future. And so you may be like shaking your head and saying, Karen, there's no way I'll ever be there. Their conversations say, Karen, I would have said there was no way I would be there, and they're there. And so we know this. We've lived through this with so many people, and it is what we desire for you.
This is our last fear that we're going to talk about today.
I'll kick it off. One of my favorite sayings: knowledge is power. We are so glad that you chose to be here today, and I hope that you got a lot of value out of it. There are legal and emotional and financial resources there to help you. If you're drowning in an ocean, you don't wave off the lifeguard and say, I got it, I got it. Divorce can feel like a perfect storm. Invest in the people who can help keep your head above water and keep you tracking true in the direction that you want to go in. And identifying fears and overcoming them is the first step. And congratulations for those of you who listed such beautiful goals and who were so honest about your fears. And focusing on what you do have control over. And this is something I say 100 times a day. You cannot control another human being. You cannot control another human being. You keep your side of the street clean. You focus on your behavior, your reactions, your responses, your pausing, your grace, your dignity, your desires, and let him or her take care of themselves, and you will be so much better off. And we have a couple of next steps.
Yeah, I just want to say, I saw somebody put in the chat that was a real aha moment for you to hear Karen say that the first time, or I don't know who said it the first time. I think it was Karen. I'm so glad that was aha moment. Maybe it was for others too, that you only control yourself. So the next steps is that we have a pre-divorce checklist for you that Karen and I put together. It's a comprehensive checklist to help you begin navigating your divorce. Or
let's go to the next slide too while you're saying this, so people can.
Oh yeah, there's the pre-divorce checklist slide. I mean, QR code. Yeah, so please go ahead and start getting that. You can download that right now. We'll also be sending it to you. And we did this to help you reduce the fear and uncertainty and move forward with greater clarity and confidence and just feeling more empowered, because you'll have a whole list of things that you could be thinking about and doing right now if it makes sense for you. So whether you need guidance on choosing a process, understanding your financial situation, helping your kids, communicating with your soon-to-be ex, reducing conflict in the home, this complimentary checklist will help you move forward. So really covers everything in your head, your heart, and your home, as Karen said to me recently. And I really like that because it really does.
Yeah, and if you don't know where to get started and you're afraid to step into the legal process, this pre-divorce checklist gives you so much just in your home, just with your kids, just between your ears. And that is all getting started. Every single check off on this list is you tracking true and moving in the direction you want to go in. So definitely grab it. You can take a picture of the QR code. We're about to switch the slide in a second, or we are going to be emailing it to you as well. But please open it, hold it close, use it. It will help you on your path to confidence.
Yeah. And then the other thing we have to offer to you is a way to move forward with more confidence. And this is our empowered exit plan. So we know that that making even the first call to an attorney can feel like you're jumping off a cliff or putting yourself on this runway or runaway train that's moving at 100 miles an hour and you don't even know where it's going. So never mind plunking down $10,000 or $25,000 to hire a lawyer. You're not even sure what your next steps are. You don't even not sure where you're going, or what to do. So if these kinds of fears sound familiar and have held you back, and you just haven't been able to move forward because of that fog in your head, this empowered exit plan is the on-ramp that you need. So this will help you figure out what's keeping you stuck, allow you to move forward with more with your divorce, with your nervous system regulated. It will help you lift that fog of confusion. And how we'll help you do this is that first, you'll have an opportunity to work one-on-one with Karen to help you determine what you want and what you need so you can come away with some clear action steps. Dig more into those fears you wrote down. Think more about how you want to divorce. This 1-hour call with Karen is going to really help you. You saw how much help she is just on this call. Imagine a one-on-one opportunity with her. And then you'll have additionally 3 hours of legal support from our team of non-adversarial attorneys to help you, given your specific and unique situation, determine which divorce process would be best for you and why. Gather and assess financial information and other essential information that you need. Strategically share your decision with your spouse so that you can end your marriage as amicably as possible. Establish new boundaries at home and talk about what's best for your kids right now, and just help you put you on a path that you feel more in control and more stable. So if you paid for these, if we can go to the next slide, these services together, individually would be $2,600, but Karen and I are offering this for $1,950 because we want you to be able to allay your fears, get clear on your goals, and see a clearer road ahead before you start on the journey. So Karen, is there anything else you want to say?
Yeah, because I think it's so important. I was so excited when Andrea and I started talking about this because, it's kind of like you're on the marriage island and you need to get to the divorce island. And it just seems like this roaring river down the middle that's going to destroy you. And this empowered exit plan is this beautiful bridge that gives you the information so that it tamps down your anxiety, that it helps you get clear on what's real and what you need to know and what's next and what's not, that's down the road a piece. So it helps you. It's a perfect bridge to get from where you are to where you want to go in a very gentle, supported way. So I'm so stoked about this. I wish that every attorney offered something like this because it really is the stepping stone that's been missing as far as I'm concerned.
So we want to thank you. We know we're at 1:01 here, 1 minute over. We're so glad everyone who is still here, and we're going to answer a few questions now, but please be on the lookout for that email with a link to this recording of this workshop, more information about the empowered exit plan, and a copy of that pre-divorce checklist. And we'll, I guess.
And I think we're also going to send out the recording. And yeah, along with the pre-divorce checklist. So, and I believe the offer ends Sunday at midnight.
Yeah, Sunday at midnight. This package ends then. So it gives you several days to think about it. If you have any questions, please let us know.
Yeah, so let's dive in. We still got like a good chunk of people here. We've got a handful of questions. I'm going to just jump in and read the first one. If a child has neurological disability at 17, is that something the final decree has to include so that both spouses keep contributing financially for medical care and don't stop at 18? And the person asking is the one who's supporting 90% of the care. I'll send that one over to you.
Send it to me, the lawyer. Okay. So, well, I don't know what state you're in, but in New York, yeah, I mean, the answer is yes. I mean, if support stops in your state at 18, an agreement that you and your spouse can come to about what to do after the age of 18, it needs to be in an agreement because the court probably can't order anything. In New York, we do have a special law in New York for children or, children with special needs. They can be supported to age 26. So there is a special law in New York that it goes past the age of 21 to 26. And sometimes parents even agree beyond that. So you have a better chance of getting that adult child to be helped cared for if you can come to an agreement. The court probably can't order that, but I don't know about your state. So the other
So
question
you might want to check
oh,
with your attorney and see if there are any laws in your state that
Definitely.
would protect your daughter.
Yes, definitely. And if you need or if you don't have an attorney in your state and you need us to help you try to find one, let us know. We know people all over the country. Somebody else that, oh, go ahead, Karen.
No, the next two are legal. I'm just going to answer the last one because it's a quick one. Journey Beyond Divorce coaches across the English-speaking world. So I have clients in Texas. We do coach all over. Andrea, your New York and do you have a second state? New York and
New York and New Jersey. We have attorneys admitted to practice in New York and New Jersey. If you need an attorney in Texas, we do have colleagues, like I said, all over the country. So we really could try to help you find the right people for you. But coaching is universal and definitely Karen can help anywhere. I just want to say the empowered exit plan is not necessarily legal advice, but more legal preparation. So that's available to anyone in any state. It's not just New York specific. And so just quickly about the different processes that we've been talking about, a collaborative divorce, mediation. So mediation is typically a process where you're meeting with a mediator. I'm a mediator. As a lawyer, you'd sit down with a mediator, you and your spouse, and the mediator would help you figure out all the different issues that you need to deal with in your divorce, financially, child-related, support, how to divide property, how to identify property, all of that, and then they would draft an agreement for you. So that's mediation. You have to be able to advocate for yourself. Perhaps you have an attorney also helping you and guiding you along the way. That's definitely recommended. In the collaborative divorce process, you each have your own attorney who is collaboratively trained and is agreeing not to litigate with you. So your collaborative lawyers are agreeing, we will never go to court with you. We are both committed to keeping you out of court. And then there's a financial neutral on the team, a financial professional, and a family specialist or divorce coach, a neutral, collaboratively trained coach on the team. A little different from what Karen's doing because this person's working with two people at once, and they're collaboratively trained, but they help with the parenting issues, the emotional issues, the communication issues, and the financial issues are dealt with by the financial professional. Collaborative divorce process is a wonderful process for high conflict or more complicated divorces that really want to come to creative solutions and need to and want to stay out of court. And if you want to find a collaborative lawyer or you want to find a mediator, there are organizations that you can find online, and you could also just reach out to me again. And if I know anyone in your state or in your area, I'd be happy to recommend people for you. Beautiful. Karen would too. Karen knows many people, so reach out to us together.
You're getting emails from us. Just hit reply and ask for what you need, and if we can help, we would be happy to. So I believe that that's a wrap. Please grab the pre-divorce checklist. Take one last opportunity to take a picture and access the QR code through your phone, through the camera. And it has been a pleasure to be here with you. I hope you got a lot of value out of today's presentation. And we hope to see you in the Empowered Exit program as well.
Thank you, everyone. It's really been a pleasure. We love that you were here and hope you found it helpful. Thank you again, Karen, and thank you, everyone behind the scenes.
Beautiful. Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye.